Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're taking a journey into a really profound and incredibly impactful text, the book of Hebrews.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, for some of you, this might be, a familiar part of your studies or spiritual life, maybe even a cornerstone text.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for others, it might be completely new territory, a book you've heard of, perhaps, but never really explored in depth.
And it can seem a bit daunting at first glance.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is basically to navigate this densely packed source. We want to pull out the most important insights, some surprising facts maybe,
Yeah.
and really get a handle on its central arguments without getting totally lost in the weeds.
Right.
We're going to try and discover why this particular text is just so foundational and what core messages it wants to convey directly to you, the listener.
That's a great way to put it. And while it's often called a letter, if you really read Hebrews, it feels much more like a powerful sermon, doesn't it? Or like one long, extended argument.
Yeah, it really does build point by point.
Its whole purpose seems to be presenting this comprehensive, really compelling case for the absolute supremacy of Christ. Supremacy over, earlier religious figures, practices, institutions.
All things that came before.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's truly about revealing a fundamental, even radical shift in how God interacts with humanity, a massive change in understanding.
Okay, let's unpack that right from the beginning then, because the text opens with such a powerful statement. It says that God, who, and I'm quoting here, at sundry times and in diverse manners, spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets.
Mm-hmm. In many ways, in a different time.
Right. Has now, it says, in these last days spoken unto us by his Son. What's the immediate takeaway here? What's the core message about Jesus right in verse 1, and why is that so critical for everything else?
Well, this opening, it just immediately sets the stage for everything that follows. When it talks about sundry times and diverse manners, it's acknowledging God did speak before, through prophets, in various ways, fragmented ways perhaps, but now, through his Son, there's something new, something ultimate, a final form of revelation. The Son isn't presented as just, another prophet in the line.
He's different.
Fundamentally different. He's presented as the definitive voice, the one appointed heir of all things, and crucially, the one by whom also he made the worlds.
Wow.
So the key insight here is that Hebrews isn't just like adding a new chapter to the old book. It's revealing a complete recalibration of how God communicates and acts. It's moving from that system of partial, varied revelation.
So the complete reality in Christ himself.
Exactly, the ultimate reality.
And then here's where it gets really interesting, at least for me. The text immediately compares the Son to angels right away.
Yes, it dives straight into that comparison.
And it emphatically states he was made so much better than the angels. It doesn't just say it. It uses specific quotes from Scripture to back it up, asking things like, "For unto which of the angels said he at any time, Thou art my Son, this day have I begotten thee?"
Right, pulling from the Psalms there.
And then it adds, "Let all the angels of God worship him." It draws this really stark contrast between the Son with his eternal throne and righteous kingdom and the angels who are described as basically ministering spirits.
Yeah, and what's striking about that comparison is how persistent the emphasis is on the Son's divine nature and his eternal reign. It's constant. And that stands in such sharp contrast to the role of angels, who are explicitly described as created beings, subordinate, sent forth to minister.
So servants, essentially.
Servants, messengers, yes. So this isn't just about like who has a higher rank in the hierarchy. It's fundamentally about a difference in nature and function. The Son is creator and sustainer. The angels are created ministers.
That's a huge difference.
It means we're dealing with a qualitatively different level of authority and being all together.
Okay, so if this message about the Son is so profound, so central, what does that mean for us, for the listeners? How should we respond? Because the text immediately pivots from that theological point to a pretty stern warning.
It does, yeah. The tone shifts.
It says, "Therefore we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip." Why is the consequence of neglecting this great salvation, as it calls it, described as being so dire?
Well, if you connect this to the bigger picture the writer is building, the argument is incredibly serious. It's essentially saying this. Look, the old law, the message delivered through angels,
Right.
disobeying that brought just recompense of reward, a fair punishment. So if that's the case, how much more serious must it be to neglect a salvation that wasn't just spoken by angels, but by the Lord himself, and then confirmed by eyewitnesses, signs, wonders, miracles.
The stakes are higher because the messenger is higher.
Exactly. The magnitude of the message and its ultimate divine source dictates the severity of disregarding it. You can't just shrug this off.
Which leads into this really fascinating discussion of rest. It connects directly, doesn't it?
It does.
The text warns against hardening our hearts, like the Israelites did. It draws that powerful parallel to them failing to enter God's rest because of unbelief out there in the wilderness.
A historical object lesson.
And it even describes God's word, using that incredibly vivid image. Quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit. I mean, that's intense language.
It really is. And the concept of rest here, it's important to understand it's not just, putting your feet up after a long week.
It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's a spiritual reality. The text points out that God's rest was actually available right from the foundation of the world, echoing his own rest on the seventh day of creation.
Okay.
But the key was, as you said, they could not enter in because of unbelief. So the real insight into this rest isn't just stopping work, it's finding that deep spiritual peace, that assurance that comes from trusting God's completed work.
Rather than relying on our own efforts.
Precisely. Ceasing from our own works, as the text says, as God did from his. It implies stopping that striving to earn salvation, and instead just resting, trusting in what God has already provided through Christ.
And it says, there remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. It's still available.
It's still available, entered through faith.
Okay, so the text then introduces one of its most complex but also really compelling arguments. Christ as the apostle and high priest of our profession.
Yes, a central theme.
And it makes the bold claim that he is worthy of more glory than Moses. How does it go about establishing that? That's a huge claim, given Moses' stature.
It is a huge claim, and the comparison is direct. Moses, it says, was indeed faithful in all his house, but crucially as a servant.
Okay, a servant.
But Christ is presented as a son over his own house. See the difference? It sets up this idea of Christ having inherent foundational authority. He owns the house, he's not just working in it.
Got it. Son versus servant.
Right. But then the text introduces an even more surprising comparison, one that might seem obscure at first. Christ is a priest, it says, after the order of Melchizedek.
Melchizedek, right, that figure from Genesis. King of Salem, priest.
Exactly. King of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who meets Abraham, blesses him, and Abraham gives him a tithe, a tenth. Seems like a detour, maybe.
Yeah, some listeners might wonder, why focus so much on this kind of mysterious figure from way back? What's the point?
Well, the text really zeroes in on Melchizedek's unique description in Genesis, or rather, what's not said about him. It points out he's described without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life.
Almost like he appears out of nowhere and disappears.
Exactly, and it says he's made like into the Son of God.
Mhm.
So the argument builds because Abraham, the great patriarch, the ancestor of the entire Levitical priesthood, because he paid tithes to Melchizedek, it implies Melchizedek's priesthood is actually superior to the one that came from Abraham's descendants, the Levites.
Wow, okay, so the lesser pays tithes to the greater.
That's the principle being used, and this matters immensely because, as the text explicitly states, the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law.
Ah, okay, so changing the priest changes the whole system.
This is absolutely crucial for understanding the core message. The Levitical priesthood, that's the priests from the tribe of Levi, serving in the tabernacle, later the temple, doing the daily rituals, the animal sacrifices.
The system under the Old Covenant.
Yes. That system, with its specific lineage and rules, was temporary. It was based on what the text calls a carnal commandment, outward rules, physical rituals, and ultimately it made nothing perfect. It couldn't bring about that deep inner spiritual transformation.
It pointed towards perfection, but couldn't achieve it.
Exactly. But Christ's priesthood, it's presented as eternal, unchangeable. It wasn't established by that old law, but with a divine oath from God himself. This makes Christ the surety, like a divine guarantee, a pledge of a better testament, a better covenant.
Okay, guarantee.
Which means, therefore, that he is able also to save them to the uttermost, completely, that come unto God by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them.
Unlike the old priests who died and needed successors.
Right. And unlike those earthly high priests who had to offer sacrifices daily, first for their own sins, then for the people's, Christ didn't need to do that. He offered up himself once.
Sounds-
Once. That's the ultimate once-for-all sacrifice. Its power is complete, final, and never needs repeating.
Okay, so building right on that idea of a superior high priest, the text then introduces the concept of a better covenant.
Yes, the two are intrinsically linked.
It says basically, if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. So what exactly were the limitations of that first covenant, according to Hebrews, and what makes this new one definitively better?
Well, the Old Covenant, as the text lays it out, had its ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary. It's talking about the tabernacle, that portable temple they had in the wilderness.
Right, with all the specific furniture and sections.
Exactly. The candlestick, the table of showbread, the Ark of the Covenant in the back. The regular priests went into the first section, the holy place, daily, but only the high priest could go into the holiest of all, that inner sanctum,
Once a year on the Day of Atonement.
once a year, and crucially, not without blood. He had to bring the blood of the sacrifice. But this whole system, even though God ordained it for that time, was ultimately just a figure for the time then present.
A symbol, a type.
A type, a temporary representation. It couldn't, the text says, make the worshiper perfect as pertaining to the conscience. It dealt with outward purity, but not the inner person.
So if it couldn't achieve that inner perfection, what was its ultimate purpose then?
Well, it served multiple purposes, like highlighting the seriousness of sin, the need for atonement, but fundamentally it pointed forward to the coming reality. It created the expectation.
And that reality is Christ.
Yes, the text makes it crystal clear. Christ came as an high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle not made with hands.
Meaning not a physical building.
That is to say, not of this building. He didn't enter an earthly holy place. He entered the holy place, heaven itself, once, not with the blood of bulls and goats,
But by his own blood.
by his own blood, having obtained eternal redemption. So the old law was like a shadow of good things to come, but Christ is the very image.
Like you said, the difference between a blurry outline and seeing the actual person.
Exactly. It creates this incredibly clear distinction. Shadow versus reality, temporary versus eternal. Those old covenant sacrifices, the text says plainly, were actually a remembrance, again, made of sins every year.
They reminded people of sin rather than removing it finally.
Because, as it states, it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. Intrinsically, they couldn't do it. But Christ, by doing God's will, by offering his body once for all, has done something radically different. He has perfected forever them that are sanctified.
Perfected forever.
Yes. And the new covenant, by contrast, works internally. It writes God's laws on hearts and minds and comes with that amazing promise. Their sins and iniquities will I remember no more.
Wow.
That signifies a complete, total, final remission of sins, which therefore eliminates the need for any more offerings, any more sacrifices. It marks that shift from external rituals to internal transformation based on Christ's finished work.
Okay, this is huge. So with this really profound understanding of Christ, the superior high priest, the better covenant, the text then seems to shift gears a bit, doesn't it? It moves towards a powerful call for enduring faith.
It does. It lays the foundation, then calls for the response.
And it gives us that really memorable definition. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What does that truly mean in this context, and how does the book illustrate it for us?
That definition is just. Well, it's foundational for understanding what active, living faith looks like. Substance of things hoped for means faith gives a kind of concrete reality, a solid basis to what we hope for based on God's promises.
Okay, it makes hope solid.
And evidence of things not seen means it provides an undeniable conviction and assurance about realities we can't perceive with our physical eyes. It's not, a blind leap, but a deep trust that what God has promised, even if it's currently unseen, is absolutely real and reliable.
Got it.
And then, to illustrate this, the text just unleashes this incredible cloud of witnesses, this long, inspiring list of figures from history, starting right back with Abel,
Yeah.
who powerfully demonstrated exactly this kind of faith. It shows its power, but also its practical application across so many different circumstances and generations.
And the examples are amazing. We see Abel offering a more excellent sacrifice, Enoch being translated so he didn't even see death.
Sith walked with God and was gone.
Noah building an ark based on a warning of things not seen as yet. I mean, imagine building a giant boat when maybe you've never even seen rain like that.
Takes incredible faith.
And Abraham obeying a call to just go leave everything for an unknown place, because he was looking for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God.
Seeking something permanent, heavenly.
It even includes Sarah, who received strength to conceive seed because she judged him faithful who had promised, even when it seemed physically impossible.
Her faith activated God's power.
And then there's that striking example of Moses, who refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter,
Giving up royalty, power, wealth.
choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches, looking ahead to a greater reward.
Yeah, and what's truly remarkable about this whole chapter, this Hall of Faith, isn't just the list of spectacular victories, those who, through faith, subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire. Amazing things.
Miraculous deliverances.
Absolutely. But the text deliberately balances that by also highlighting those whose faith led them to endure terrible suffering, those who were tortured, not accepting deliverance because they hoped for something better,
Right, they endured cruel mockings and scourgings, prison, even death.
all because they desired a better resurrection and were looking for that heavenly country. So faith isn't just about getting earthly blessings.
It's also about endurance through hardship.
Exactly. And the key takeaway is stated explicitly. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. And crucially, many of these individuals died in faith, not having received the promises in their lifetime.
They didn't see the final fulfillment.
No, but they saw them from afar. They embraced them. They were confident that God had provided some better thing for us, meaning for those under the new covenant. It's this incredible perspective. Faith often means trusting God's plan even when you don't see the immediate results, looking beyond your circumstances to that greater unseen reality he's promised.
Wow. So, okay, with this incredible cloud of witnesses kind of cheering us on, what does the text tell us about how we should live? How do we apply this, practically speaking?
Well, it draws a direct line. It says, since we're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, we should also run with patience the race that is set before us.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, he's the ultimate example, the one who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame.
So keep your eyes on Jesus.
That's the primary focus. And interestingly, it even reframes difficulties. It suggests we should see hardship not as rejection, but potentially as God's fatherly discipline, his chastening, which is ultimately for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. It's meant to shape us.
That's a challenging perspective on suffering.
It is, but it connects the perseverance of all those Old Testament heroes directly to the endurance required of believers now. It encourages this active pursuit of peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord.
Okay, so what are some of those practical steps? How does this life of faith look day to day, according to Hebrews?
Well, the final chapter really brings it down to earth. It's not just high theology, it becomes very practical. These steps seem to be presented as the natural outflow of really understanding Christ and the new covenant.
Right, the so what part.
Exactly. The deep dive concludes with these exhortations. Let brotherly love continue, simple but foundational. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares.
That's an amazing thought.
Isn't it? It advises remembering those suffering, those in bonds, honoring marriage, being content, free from the love of money, trusting that the Lord is my helper and I will not fear what man shall do unto me.
Real practical life stuff.
Very much so. It stresses obeying spiritual leaders, avoiding divers and strange doctrines, staying focused on the core truth, reminding us that Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. He's the anchor.
That's a really grounding statement.
It is. And there's also that stark warning again, isn't there, against deliberate, willful sin after you've received the knowledge of the truth. It speaks of a certain fearful looking for of judgment because, as it solemnly puts it, our God is a consuming fire. There's grace, but also accountability.
So it's a balance.
It's a balance. But this final section, you see, it isn't just a random list of rules. It feels like the natural outworking, the fruit of truly grasping Christ's supremacy and the sheer transforming power of this new covenant reality. The ultimate invitation woven throughout is to come boldly unto the throne of grace.
Not fearfully, but boldly.
Boldly, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Why? Precisely because we have this incredible high priest, Jesus, who isn't distant or uncaring. He cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted, like as we are, yet without sin.
He understands us.
Completely. And that perfectly summarizes the entire argument, the whole point of the book, really. Because of who Jesus is and what he's done, we now have this direct, confident access to God. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heaven.
Wow. Okay, we've journeyed through this incredible, dense text.
Hmm.
From Christ's supremacy over angels, over Moses,
Mm-hmm.
to the power of his unique high priesthood, the reality of the new covenant,
The shift from shadow to substance.
and finally landing on the enduring, transforming power of faith, lived out practically.
Hmm.
It really is a message that urges us constantly to give that earnest heed and to hold fast to the hope that's set before us.
It really does. The book of Hebrews challenges us, I think, more than almost any other text, to see the bigger picture, to truly grasp the depth of the transformation that's offered through this better hope and these better promises.
Yeah.
It just consistently shifts our focus away from temporary earthly shadows towards eternal heavenly realities. And it's all centered, laser focused on one unwavering figure, Jesus Christ.
So as we wrap up, what stands out most to you, the listener, from this deep dive into Hebrews? Maybe it's that detailed comparison of the priesthoods. It was pretty complex.
Or perhaps the power of Melchizedek as a type.
Or maybe it's just those inspiring, sometimes challenging stories of faith from all those centuries ago. But here's something to consider, maybe mull over. If the message of Hebrews is fundamentally about spiritual growth, about moving beyond the basics, the milk to strong meat,
Growing in understanding and maturity.
exactly. What might be the next principle of the doctrine of Christ, as the book puts it, for you to explore? What's the next step for you in moving unto perfection, as Hebrews encourages?